Oh, I suppose it's asking you to do too much then, is it? To leave bottle on doorstep instead of in middle of the street, get kicked all up place. I said, I suppose it's asking you to do too much then, is it? Morning. Oh, well, you know me next time I talk to you, Stan Ogden. Why, you must have a bit of a liquor when even your neighbours are that ignorant.
Hey, Albert.
What?
Which of the women round here think's got enough in for me to tell my gaffer I've been skiving?
Are you asking my opinion?
I wouldn't ask you otherwise, would I?
Every single one. Huh? You can't trust nobody these days. Nobody. The whole world and everybody in it's gone to dogs. I said they've gone to dogs.
Hey, have you got any fags? I said, have you got any fags?
This should have been a bit of a golden day in our grey lives, shouldn't it, Mr. Fairclough?
Well, I know it hasn't been so bad so far.
So far. You've only been up 10 minutes.
Yeah, I haven't had a funny pain yet. Either. Marvellous.
Have you always been resilient, Leonard?
If that means do I always look on the bright side of things, yes.
You tell me something, does it get easier as you get older? Life, I mean.
No, I wouldn't say it got any easier.
What then?
You don't take things as seriously. Winning isn't so important. What's the point? You don't starve in England nowadays, you know. In fact, a single chap can live fairly well on dole. Thousands are proving it every day.
No regrets, then?
Someone else will turn up, never fear.
Yeah. I bet poor Miss Nugent's not doing much laughing this morning.
Hey, I've been wondering. Do you think we ought to tell her what's going on?
Not on your Nelly. She'll find out soon enough. In the meantime, my cruel streak says let her stew. Anyway, I don't think she's ever really happy. What, she's a bit miserable like me.
Riding or staggering today?
Riding. Dickie had me staggering when he dropped me off here.
Come on. Come here. Yes, I think... Yes. Here it is.
Well, thank the Lord for that. We thought Minnie Colwood had lost her reputation, the nattering she's done about missing that thing.
Must have slipped out of her purse when she was contributing to our collection yesterday. And an exceptionally good collection it was too, wasn't it, Emily?
Pardon? Oh, yes,
One
exceptionally
thing that
good.
puzzles me, Mrs. Sharpers, now why should Mrs. Caldwell be so fond of a St. Christopher medallion? I mean, she doesn't do very much travelling, does she?
Well, that's what I tell her. This St. Christopher's been demoted anyway. Oh, she reckoned it once saved her life when a tandem she and her husband were riding broke in two.
I wouldn't have thought even the wheel would be invented when Mrs. Caldwell was young enough to take to the open road.
She's not all that much older than me.
Oh, no offence, Mrs. Sharples. Hey, have I told you about my latest brainwave for this studio improvement project?
You make it sound like a new town hall. After all, you're only smartening the place up a bit and it's not before time.
Oh, no, it's more than that, Mrs. Sharples. It's a facelift for the premises and for me, too. No, what I had in mind was that we should make the whole of the frontage glass. You know, like one of them airline offices. They always look pretty swish, you know.
Ernest,
Yes, Emily?
you've an appointment at 10.
Have I? I don't remember.
Please take it from me that you have.
Yeah, all right. Well, I better be off then. I'll show you exactly what I mean when I see you later on, Mrs. Sharples.
Ah, you do that.
Oh, don't forget to lock up.
Now, what were all that about?
I just couldn't let him go on.
Go on.
About his alterations to the studio.
Oh, you get him or something?
No. They'll never happen. Never come to pass.
Well, what'll stop it?
Mr. Piggott, our kindly leaseholder. Kindly, that's a laugh.
Piggott. I'd a notion that there was something going on. You only see him when he's up to something.
You'd better hear the whole sad, rather disgraceful story.
Yes, I'd better.
Mr. Piggott threatened not to renew the studio lease, with all its attendant disappointments for Ernest.
Not to mention me, I suppose.
No, indeed. You were marked down for eviction.
What were his price?
Well, Mr. Piggott is a competitor of Mr. Fairclough's for the plumbing contract.
And he wanted something.
Mr. Fairclough's figure for the tender, so he could undercut it.
And you gave it him?
Yes. After days of heart-searching and wrestling with my conscience, which always has been a rather formidable opponent.
Well, nobody can argue with that. I suppose I ought to say thanks for saving me and Ernest, though the means were
You
not...
can save your moral lecture, Mrs. Sharples. It's all been in vain.
In vain?
Yes, Mr. Fairclough's since reduced his original figure. He's bound to get the contract. Today, as a matter of fact. Which means that Mr. Piggott...
Will be after his pound of flesh.
Yes. And there doesn't seem to be anything I can do this time.
No. There are times when you can't do anything.
You know, I've always believed confession was good for the soul. But I don't feel a jot better.
Come on. Let's go home, for as long as it is home.
So after I'd been fined £15 for something I didn't do, the prosecuting solicitor had the gall to ask for a fee. An advocate's fee, he called it, and he got it. 5 guineas, that I had to pay. Topping that lamppost has cost me more than £20, say nothing of the damage to my own car.
Does seem a lot.
Oh, I don't know, I think I'm going to appeal. There must be some appeal against this advocate's fee.
Well, didn't you at the time?
No,
in court?
No. I felt like a small boy in front of the headmaster. No, I felt if I did appeal, I'd like to make it £50.
A lot of people complain about having to pay advocates' fees. You can make a reasonable fine into an extortionate one. But, as the lawyers say, costs follow the event.
They certainly do. I don't see why I should pay the man who helped to nail me unjustly.
You yourself weren't represented by a solicitor.
No, I wasn't going to spend good money on that, not me. I don't need a solicitor to help me to tell the
I
truth.
quite agree you shouldn't need one, Mr. Howard. But court cases can be a battle of wits, with a defendant who's usually a stranger to everything at a disadvantage. He can be confused, overawed, bullied, perhaps. While we enjoy the fairest justice in the world, the people who administer it ain't perfect. In fact, some are very far from it.
Very well put, Cyril.
Well, I'll try and remember that next time. In the meantime, thank you for listening to my tale of woe.
Oh, part of the job, Mr. Howard. A good part on it.
Yes. Well, to death.
Yeah. Not a satisfied customer, love.
Don't you get fed up with it, Liz?
Fed up?
With the job being with us all the time.
Well, sometimes, but it stops you getting bored.
Well, I get fed up to here. I mean, people are always either complaining or going on about something trivial.
Yeah, well, it's the time of the year, love. Everybody gets run down in February. It's known for it. Anyway, I'll go make you a nice cup of tea.
Maybe you're right. I wonder if I need one of them over 40s tonics.
Don't you mean over 50s?
That's another thing. My age. It's getting me down. Especially at 2 a.m. in the morning when I'm first at a fatal. And it's raining.
Oh, love, you are low. There's a fella with no worries at all. Stan Ogden.
Yeah, his secret's having a turnip instead of a head.
Hey, that's the shop out there, not in here.
Oh, well, I want to see your husband a bit of private business, you know.
He's discussed all the private business he's doing for one
It
day.
won't take a minute. I just want the benefit of his copper's mentality.
No, so now
Oh,
if
we
you'll
can
just...
give him a minute, Liz. How, Stan, can my copper's mentality benefit you?
Well, I mean, he must be different to us, mustn't he, with all the ferreting out you do and suspecting for a start, you know.
Half of your minute gone, Stan Ogden.
Go on, Stan.
Well, I was wondering, if you had to put a finger on somebody round here who'd do you a bad turn, a really bad turn, who would you pick on amongst the female population?
Are you asking me that in all seriousness?
Of course I am.
I'm going an errand, Liz. I shouldn't be long.
What did I say?
If I weren't a policeman's wife, I'd mark you, Stan Ogden, for life.
And so I thought I'd make this diary of day-to-day events in the locality and then send it at regular intervals to your Irma. That way I could keep her in touch with everything and everybody. And with me and all, of course.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I thought so. Mrs. Ogden,
Yeah?
you know, I can't help feeling a bit guilty about my feelings for Irma, with her being married.
Oh, well, they are harmless, though, aren't they, your feelings?
Are they?
Well, I mean, she does live 12,000 miles away.
Ah, she does, worse luck. I suppose it's what you might call worshipping from afar.
I've got a guilt complexity and all.
Oh?
Somewhat I done to Stan. Only he don't live now 12,000 miles away. He lives here.
Well, if you're fit, we'll nip down into town for that meal.
Oh, I'm fit for a meal any time.
I'd say you were just fit, Elsie.
That was supposed to be a compliment, Mr. Piggott. It's the first time I've heard you give anybody one.
You don't know me well enough, obviously.
Oh, but I do, Mr. Piggott. I do.
Well, it's all right for some. Tallest is all right for some.
I beg your pardon, Albert.
Shall we nip into town for a meal? I've never nipped anywhere for a meal. Never nipped anywhere. Full stop. Except for the time that I were in the army, I never travelled south of Manchester. I were one of a generation that were born too soon to enjoy the affluent society, like Tom Finney.
Tom Finney? What's he got to do with anything?
Well, he never earned 200 quid a week as a footballer, did he? And he was a prince compared to Georgie Best. No, like me, were born too soon, me and Tom.
Would a drink help, Albert?
Look, I'm not a monkey in a cage to be kept quiet with a bag of nuts.
Who said anything about nuts? Oh, he's been muttering about it for ages. You know, something about come the revolution.
And that's what my stomach is going to do if we don't leave now and go and get that meal. Revolt.
Grub, grub, grub. Don't you ever think of anything else?
I definitely would if you worked for me, Elsie.
That's just why I don't, Mr. Piggott.
Well, if it isn't the fairy princess and her handsome knight.
Langton,
Yes?
somebody should push you onto that swing bridge over the canal and swing it. Ta-ta. Me?
Charming.
You asked for it.
Well, they do ponce about a bit, don't they? You know, giggling and brushing bodies and all that malarkey, or hadn't you noticed?
I'd noticed.
Of course you had. Hey, look who's having a liquid dinner. Our crooked competitor. I'm going to enjoy the next 5 minutes. You knock him down and I'll run over him.
Clough, Langdon, what are you having then?
Feeling in a generous mood, are you?
Fairly. A double brandy then.
Aye, same for me. Though I'll not be drinking it. It's my condition, you know.
Is that right, then? 2 double brandies?
Of course it's right, and get me one and all. I mean, today is a double brandy day, isn't it?
3 double brandies.
Oh, I've still got athlete's foot, you know.
We find out who gets the contract, don't we?
Oh, that. Oh, that.
Come on, it's no use you pretending you couldn't care less. That means more to you than it does to me, you being in a smaller way of business.
Well, it's a contradiction, but it's very, very true. The more you have, the more you want.
The less you have, the less you get. You didn't get it then?
No, neither did you.
You must be joking.
I got a tip from the town hall. Roscoe and Pitts. They undercut the pair of us, they did. That's the way the cookie crumbles, Willie.
You are a lucky woman, Miss Nugent. Very lucky. If them two would have got that contract, I'd have pulled that studio of yours down with my bare hands. Still, never let it be said that Willie Piggott doesn't know the meaning of fair play.
Drink, Miss Nugent.
It must be one of 3 women. Annie Walker, Ina Sharbles, or that flipping Betty Turpin. None of them like me.
I wouldn't say that, Chuck. I think you're very popular with that.
Don't give me a piece of my mind, I'll tell you. Diabolical, that's what it is. Tittle-tatting to the boss. Going against the class.
Yes, Stan.
You've no idea who it might be, have you? See me questioning all 3.
Me?
There's nobody else stood there with a flipping rice pudding in their hand, is there?
Oh, I've heard nothing, Chuck. And I don't know nothing, Chuck. Ooh.
So you see, all the signs are that Providence has intervened in our favour. I mean, Mr. Piggott can hardly lay the success of Roscoe and whoever at my door, can he?
Hardly, though he's a bad un.
Oh, he is, Miss Nugent, a scion of the devil.
Yes, well, let's believe that wickedness has not prevailed for once. That your home's safe, Mrs. Sharples, Ernest's dreams intact, And I'm free of a burden that had become intolerable. It's like all my burdens, for that matter.
It's your fibre, Miss Nugent. It's not strong enough.
There is something sadly lacking, Mrs. Caldwell. I can actually feel trouble, physically. It suffocates me, as though I've got my head stuck under a cushion.
Poor Miss Nugent. The world's too much for her.
Providence. I wonder.
Pardon?
She said Providence had scotched old Pigott. But I wonder. I'm off. Are you coming or stopping?
Oh, coming. I'm feeling very active today.
Don't you mean nosy?
No, feeling active sounds a nicer way of putting it. I didn't do it with no malice of forethought. Provoked me. Drinking and living a loose life and me thinking you were sweating your guts out. Lying in bed on me top, fretting and missing the body heat you give off like an old sheep covered in snow. You could forgive me if you'd only stop to think. Annie Rod, I'll not do anything like that again. Never. I'm getting too old to live in fear. Well, you do. I mean, Ryan and squabbling might make a change when you're young, but not when you're going on. You don't want change, you just want peace. It's what's called entering the middle years.
What are you rabbiting about?
You what, Chuck?
I don't join in with me ears. You're rabbiting on about something. What was it?
Oh, nothing, just rabbiting.
Something about not living in fear.
Oh, now, what have I got to live in fear of?
Not liking rows and squabbles or something.
No, well, I mean, who does, Chuck, apart from your Siamese fighting fish?
You know you're right.
Huh?
Having a row when he plants seeds for another one, doesn't it?
Do you think so?
He was right, you know. Turn the other cheek. If anybody does you wrong, you just treat them with contempt, utter contempt. If you do anything to them, it brings you down to their level, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, it does, Chuck, it does, yeah.
Ah, right. I'm off.
Off where?
Bed. Touch of the old flu coming on, I think. Some late nights, you know. Tell you what, bring a hot water bottle up when you come up, will you?
Yeah, all right, Chuck. And you're dead right, you know. It's much better to show contempt.
Ah.
Much less painful for me and all. But you'd left the pub, Mr. Tatlock, you know, gone, vanished, skedaddled.
Yeah, but that didn't give you the right. There was still 2 inches of ale left in that glass. 2 inches that I'd paid for. And with ale the price it is today, that represents a considerable amount of money, and you've no right to chuck it away.
How long did you expect me to keep it for you?
Until I said I didn't want it.
But you might not have been in again for another week.
Well, it doesn't matter, a week or a month.
Oh,
You'd no right to chuck it
You're
away.
just being awkward, like you have been all over dinner
I know,
time.
all over.
Oh, I don't know. There's nothing more awkward than an old fella, except 2 old fellas.
All right, you're insulting me now, are you? First you chuck ale away that I paid for, and then you insult me. You like all the same folks, you that are in business. Brass comes too easy to you. That's what's the matter, and you don't even know the meaning of the word service. Like everybody else, you're ignorant.
Albert,
What?
what kind of beer was it? That 2 inches in your glass?
Miley.
Half or a pint?
Oh.
Give him a pint, Betty.
More than it gets from me, silly old duffer.
Look, I shall report you to Jack Walker. I was using this pub when you were still cleaning your knees every night. By gum, I reckon they need a bit of cleaning and all.
Do.
Albert, there you are. Let your beer stop your gob, to put it genteelly.
Oh, sop it yourself.
Well, of all
I
the...
think you know that Mr. Tatlock's a hobgoblin. I'd love to have seen him these formative years.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tatlock.
You know we're a lost generation, don't you?
Are we, Ena? Show me the generation that weren't lost.
This, the present generation. They've got it made. Or they think they have.
Is he in one of his questioning moods? Questioning the purpose of it all?
Well, the only thing I've ever heard Albert Tatlock question her for were virgin birth. Oh, but it comes to us all, Ena.
Now, don't you start.
I mean, I hope it will. If it doesn't work.
Ah, good afternoon, ladies. Taking the air, are we? The Prince Regent has just left.
I'd like a word with you in there, and we wouldn't say no to a couple of milk stouts.
Do you think she was born with a natural authority?
No, just the fizzog for it.
Hey, Betty, 2 milk stouts for Loll and Hardy. Here we are, and we're saying no. And we want a lawyer.
Oh, they are a couple of comics, aren't they,
It
Ena?
depends on your sense of humour. I've been
Well, now,
wondering
it just so happens that we are able to do that go-kart for you,
about
miss.
Roscoe and Pitt's getting that contract.
What's to wonder about?
Oh, I'm asking you.
And now you say, I'm asking you.
Oh, you can keep that up for ages.
Did you used to play at that, Mrs. Colwell?
Yes, did you?
Yes, did you?
Look, Len Fairclough.
Well, I couldn't think of a better firm to get it than Roscoe and Pitts. They're very good lads.
Well, what about Piggott?
That's a swear word, Mrs. Sharples.
All right, Fairclough and Langton then.
Well, let's say there were obstacles in the path of them getting it.
Like me, for instance.
Oh, no.
Here, 2 milk stouts.
Oh, make that 2 pints as well, and I'm paying.
Oh, is it a special occasion or something,
Ena?
I'm trying to find that out, aren't I?
Just don't kiss us, that's all.
Well, tell me why I should.
We got to thinking, Mrs. Sharples, that it couldn't have been us that got the job, could it? I mean, you would have been out in your ear. And Annie Bishop. And we didn't want Piggott to get it.
So, Len has a word with Sid Roscoe.
Of Roscoe and Pitts.
The very fella. And we sell him our cheap materials, what we were going to use.
Which meant they could undercut us. Mind you, we insisted on that.
You cheeky pair of devils.
And we made a bob or two on the deal.
Every one of them pulled up and chucked at 4 winds. I don't know what I wanted to go and put them in for in first place. A dozen of them, a dozen spring cabbages absolutely ruined. And it's not first time either. Last year it were onions, only onions, trampled to a pulp. What the police for if not to stop vandalism?
But we do stop vandalism, Mr. Tetlock.
Not on my allotment, you
But
don't.
we can't catch every hooligan. For a start, there are more of them than us. And secondly, we ain't psychic. I don't know when I'm at the station that somebody's destroying your cabbages. Of course, the time might come when we can have everybody under surveillance on a great big television set, when we can play God Almighty. But I don't think I'll like it when it does come, nor you for that matter.
Look, if it had stopped my allotment being vandalised, I'd welcome it. What do I pay rates for except for police protection? I reckon you think more about foreigners than what you do about us. Look, how many dozens of policemen did you take to look after them South Africans? A couple of them would have saved my cabbages.
But the national interest was involved with the South Africans, not to mention the very structure of the law itself.
National interest, me foot, it never did out for me. Never at all, except save me being shot and gave me a comic little pension. It never sent me to a university. I never had any maternity benefit from it. No, all I got were a pair of false teeth.
Well, that's hardly my fault, is it,
Oh,
Mr.
the
Tetlock?
lot of you said the same.
Hey, what's he belly aching about?
Oh, just about everything, but particularly the police force.
Oh, he's been in a queer mood all day, love. He's plagued me to death in
Well,
the
he's
road,
been plaguing the death out of me, as you put it, Liz, in my own home.
Oh, look, Cyril, you're not going to let an old fool like that upset you, are you?
Yeah, but he did come here to let off steam, not to Len Fairclough's or Ken Barlow's, but here, to Muggins, whom he doesn't even respect, like a lot of folk. Do you know how they view coppers? As a necessary evil, like a shower of rain? Well, I'm more than a bit fed up of being about as popular as a wet Monday.
Well, listen, love, if you feel like that, I mean, you can always leave the force. Now you've nearly done your 25.
I know, and I'm considering doing just that.
Well, here's to you then, with my sincere thanks.
And I know who it is who's trying to hide behind that pine pot.
Hello, Elsie. What are you having?
I'll get him then.
Didn't you hear me ask?
Yes, all right, Len.
I'll have a gin and tonic, please.
I do, please.
Gin and tonic latte, I'll make it large.
What are we celebrating, anyway?
Failure, strangely enough.
Oh, we're celebrating success.
Oh, aye, what about?
It's the best week so far in the salon.
Oh, I thought you might have been celebrating something else.
Such as?
Well, let's say, togetherness.
Well, it depends what you mean by togetherness, doesn't it, Ray?
Oh, I think you both know what I mean. You're old enough. Wouldn't you say so, Mr. Fairclough?
1 gin and tonic, 1 light ale. I think I'll go and sit down now, man. I've been on my feet all day.
Yes, me too.
Did I, say something?
You know what you are, Ray Langton?
A mixer?
Yeah.
Aye, I know, but... Well, today should have been a better day than it has been, and... Well, I got to get my fun somehow.
Seems silly to get embarrassed when people talk about us like that. I suppose it was 'cause Len was there.
I'm not embarrassed.
Aren't you?
No, I enjoy it. Our togetherness.
What do you mean when you say our togetherness, Alan?
Things just exactly as they are now.
Serves me right for asking, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
You two can off it for a start. Because I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't even want to see anybody. You can keep your neighbours and the rest of the rotten world. They're not geared up to the likes of me.
So you think it's to the road round, Albert Tatlock? It's the likes of you that's not geared up to the world.
And there's another thing. I can do without women. Especially sarcastic, know-all women. And I'll tell you something else as well.
Go on.
Now and again, we all ought to resist progress.
Whatever that means.
I think what Mr. Tatlock's trying to say that he's
dropped out.
Aye, and he means it and all by the sound of him.
Well, I wish he'd mentioned it to me. I might have joined him.